I want to see where we take all of these things people are saying in and around the NFL and turn it into meaningful action aimed at making things better. One person taking action, Deshaun Watson joining a march in Houston. And
yeah,
look,
Deshaun.
Folks, hey, if you've been watching any of the media coverage, you know there is a physical risk in showing up at a peaceful protest. There's a chance if you show up at a peaceful protest in the wrong place at the wrong time when somebody wants to go out for a walk for a photo op, you're going to get tear gassed or shot with a rubber bullet. And just because it's a rubber bullet doesn't change the fact that it's a bullet, folks. And it causes serious damage and causes death in some situations. But you may be cleared out. You never know what's going to go down at one of these peaceful protests, right? You never know when somebody's going to decide they don't want a peaceful protest right now. We got to clear the streets, and we're going to do it with force. So, and we talked yesterday, and we kind of joked about it a little bit, that Henry Ruggs shouldn't be moving his own furniture. This is a guy who's on the brink of one of the biggest contracts in NFL history. He's putting that on the line by showing up at something like this, and I applaud him for it.
No, me too. I mean, way to go, Deshaun Watson. That's why you're so freaking awesome, right? That's how I like to say my song when I talk about him in football. Well, we might have to add a verse to it, but I'm not surprised to see Deshaun Watson there on the front lines. First off, Deshaun Watson, when you meet him, is about as nice and as caring and humble as a person as there is that you'll ever meet. And then for a young athlete, he handles himself and acts like a mature 37-year-old. And that was when I was around him as a rookie in the NFL. So he is wise beyond his years. He's an unbelievable leader. He does it by example. He's not the biggest rah-rah guy. We don't see him like getting a team around him before the game and doing all that. That's not what he does, but he's certainly not afraid to speak up. And this is actions speak louder than words. And, this is something I talked about yesterday, Mike. I was wondering when we might see a player or a quarterback go get on the front lines, because I think the more you see this and the more you see a guy like Deshaun Watson at the front of a peaceful protest or anything like this, like we talked about all week, last week, it changes people's views. And makes them think a little bit differently because he's viewed differently, which isn't right in a lot of ways, but he is. And I really applaud him. He's the man. And you're right, Mike. He's got a lot to risk. He's about to be the second richest player in the history of football, only behind Patrick Mahomes.
And look, this process, in my mind, is changing. It's evolving. Statements are good. Call to action in a statement is better. Action is best. Now, I made the point earlier in the week, and look, when I wrote the item at PFT, and I think we talked about it here yesterday, hell, I can't remember anymore, but I did make the point that only a handful of coaches had come out and said anything publicly. And again, I don't want it to be an exercise in checking a box. I don't want people to issue statements because they feel like they have to issue statements, but it did seem odd to me that it was just a few who had issued passionate, meaningful commentary, whether it was Brian Flores, the Dolphins coach who issued the statement on Friday that was very, very powerful. Frank Reich comments, the Colts head coach verbalized his views earlier in the week. Beyond that, there wasn't all that much. Now, I believe more will be coming as soon as today that will be powerful. But one thing I should have realized, I should have thrown this dart and made this prediction that at some point, a guy who has a history of not caring about the consequences of his words and doing what he believes is right and saying what he believes is right is our guy Sean Payton. And Sean Payton put it in very blunt, plain terms yesterday on social media with photographs of George Floyd, men who were murdered, not killed on video. How many have we not seen? 22 weeks from today for change. That last line crosses a bridge that a lot of people in the NFL are afraid to cross because they don't want to be on the wrong side of a tweet or a comment at a rally, and the rallies inevitably will be coming back. They don't want to be singled out. They don't want to be called out. They don't want that 30% that will follow one specific person to the ends of the earth and maybe currently are. They don't want that. And Sean Payton put himself in the position where he potentially is going to get that. And look, that's why he's different than the other coaches, because he'll say what he wants to say. He'll say what he believes. And, there's a strong call to action in there. And that is a statement that really, to me, transcends statement and in and of itself is action, because it's sending that message to people 22 weeks from today for change. And he raises a very good point that I think I don't know that we've mentioned this yet this week, but my God, think of all the years of mistreatment of minorities by law enforcement where there wasn't evidence that was in the palm of the hands of anyone who was in position to press record on their phone. And it's amazing and astounding to think of the things that do happen in plain sight of the cameras. We're all Big Brother now. We all have the cameras, which is, on one hand, a horrible invasion of individual privacy. On the other hand, it's a great way to hold people in authority accountable. And if they're going to continue to act the way that they acted when they're being videotaped, God only knows what they were doing when they believed there was no evidence that was going to come to light, other than a group of police officers who understand that when push comes to shove, I didn't see anything. I don't know anything about that. No, I didn't do that. No, he pulled the gun first, even if he didn't. How many times has that happened over the years when there wasn't video evidence of it to be actually debunked? So, it's good that we're at this moment.
Yes.
It's necessary that we're embracing the moment. It's horrible how we got here. It's good that we're waking up to it. And the challenge becomes taking this moment and turning it into action. It can't just be something that subsides. You follow the NFL, you follow world events, things come and go. It's a roller coaster. Things are going to go away. No matter how intense it burns at any given moment, it always goes away and the topic changes to something else. This is a time to grab this moment and say, how can we turn it into change, Chris? Like what the Saints have done with the action that they've taken, creating a social justice leadership coalition. And hey, give us ideas, people, at Pro Football Talk, Florio at ProFootballTalk.com. Send us your ideas. Well, I want to know ways that we all can make a difference, right? For me, what I try to do, Chris, is use our platforms to make the difference. But maybe there's more we can do beyond just using the platforms. And I think this is the moment where we all need to look in the mirror and look around and ask and think, what can we do to be part of the solution?
Yeah, what can we do to be part of the solution? What can we do during the season to pay tribute to the people that have been, wrongfully killed and murdered, in these type of incidents, all of those things. I mean, we welcome those ideas. And, Sean Payton, just to get back to that, I mean, I love Sean Payton. This is why I love him. I mean, he wears his heart on his sleeve. He's not afraid to do something that, could ruffle some feathers. Made strong statements a few years ago about gun control when Will Smith, his ex-player Will Smith was murdered. So that I really respect Sean Payton for that, putting himself out there for scrutiny, and people are going to tell him to stay out of it and don't get political and all of that stuff too. Okay. But, the other thing I think to look at here, just from the football angle too, with guys like, this is where I'm surprised more coaches haven't come out with strong statements. One, a lot of coaches I know just throughout the pandemic leading into this are very frustrated with the leadership in our country. Okay, they are. And you and I both know the NFL is very Republican and conservative by nature for the most part. That really is the way it is. But I think there is frustrations there legitimately. And I think Sean Payton showed that with his last little statement there on that tweet. But like the football angle of it too, Mike, where I'm just shocked more coaches haven't come out and said something strong is, man, like right now, I look at guys like Brian Flores, Frank Reich, especially Sean Payton and Pete Carroll. They're going to corner the market on, African-American players or players that are white, that are woke, right? For the new hip phrase, right? The people that their eyes are open to the injustices going on in the world, they're going to have a great advantage there too, signing players. If a player's in doubt and you're going, okay, team A offered me this and team B offered me this and team B is coached by Sean Payton or Pete Carroll, whatever it is, hey, they're going to err on going with those guys because They stand for something. They believe in something. And these players are going to like that and want to get behind that. And I think that's also why you see these players play so hard for both of these coaches to begin with anyways, because they realize these are two coaches that are in their corner. So, Sean Payton, I can't say enough about him. And that's a really strong statement he put out there yesterday.
And look, I hope that there are no coaches who are so cynical that they would calculate, I need to say something strong in order to give myself an advantage or avoid a disadvantage when it comes to free agency. I'd like to think, I prefer to think, and barring evidence to the contrary, I will think that what we're seeing is authentic and organic and a reflection of who these individuals are. And I struggled the other night in pointing out that only a small handful of coaches have said anything.
Right.
Coaches handle things in different ways, right?
That's
Some
right.
coaches are going to communicate only with their players. Some coaches don't want to put out a statement. Anthony Lynn, the Chargers coach, had an interview yesterday with the LA Times. Very powerful. I just didn't want to put out a pretty statement, but I'm pissed off, he said. So some very strong words from Anthony Lynn, and working behind the scenes with players to get to where the team needs to be, to work through these issues, process these issues. Sean McVay, the Rams coach, spoke yesterday about what they have done internally to work through this, the things he has learned from talking to his players, listening to his players, listening to their experiences as minorities in today's America. There's a lot of stuff that, unless you've lived it, you need someone to open your eyes to it and to share with you the examples of the things they've experienced, the ways in which they have felt.
No doubt.
The discrimination that is systemic in so many ways, even today in the year 2020. And I think a lot of us are just blind to it, right? A lot of us are just like, oh, hey, it's fine. It's 2020. Oh, that crap doesn't go on anymore. Oh, those days are long over. Well, they're not. Guess what? They're not. And they're not going to end until we all come together and we all live the American ideals, and to the extent that whatever religion you practice, if it's founded on the one nation under God concept, the idea that there is a loving God that loves us all equally. We're not different races in God's eyes. And so if you're religious, if you're American, this is one area where the two things can combine, where church and state are one. We are all human beings. We are all equal. We all should be treated equal by the system, whatever the system is, however the system manifests itself. We all should be regarded as equal, regardless of what we look like. And again, I think some of us just believed we had gotten to that point, and we're learning that, no, there's still a long way to go, and now is the time to find a way to turn words into action. And again, send me an email, Florio@ProFootballTalk.com. Oh, why are you giving out your email address? I don't care. Send me an email. Send me your ideas on how we can be part of the change, on how you can be part of the change, on how we can tell others how to be part of the change. The moment is here. This is the test, Chris. What are we going to do with this? We're going to talk about it for a week or so until we move on to something else, or are we going to do something about it? That is the test.
It's the big test, and I feel like this one might stick a little bit, just because, again, how many nights in a row have we seen protests and things like that? This is angered and invigorated a lot of people in our country. We know that, and I think it's really woke a different group of people up that maybe weren't in this fight or not realizing all the aspects of it, whatever it may be. And now they're joining the fight too. So you're right. I mean, I hope that we continue this and don't let this just, fall away or get swept under the rug a few weeks from now when things start to quiet down. This is a fight that we got to continue, and it's going to take some time for us to fix it. So it's not one of these things we can have a 2 or 3 week conversation and go, okay, we're all good, we're all healed, everybody understands where we're coming from. No, that's not the case. There's a lot of learning and growing that Americans need to do so we can grow together and be a better country.
And, Chris, the NFL needs to be part of the change, not the individual players and coaches. That's what I'm not referring to. I'm referring to the NFL itself, the organization itself. It needs to be part of the action. It can't just be words.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.